Valentina had been drawing since before she could write her own name. At 34, she made her living from it. She illustrated children's books, the kind with thick pages and colors that kids chew on. Her right hand was her tool, her voice, her way of being in the world. She could trace the curve of a smile without lifting the pencil. She could bring a fox to life with 3 lines. That hand knew her better than she knew herself. It was that hand of all things that she lost for an entire autumn. There was nothing epic about it. A stepladder, a high shelf, a box of watercolors she wanted to bring down without help. Her foot slipped off the rung, and in the reflex to catch herself, she threw her right arm back. She landed badly. She heard the crack before she felt the pain, a sharp snap at her forearm. She sat there on the studio floor, surrounded by fallen brushes, holding her right arm with her left, not daring to look at it. In the ER, they confirmed what she already feared, a displaced fracture of the radius and ulna. They said it, and the orthopedic surgeon decided to immobilize it fully. "We're going to put you in a long arm cast," he explained, from the upper arm down to the hand, with the elbow bent. "We need neither the wrist nor the elbow to move while the bones knit." Several weeks. Valentina watched the technician wrap her right arm, layer over layer, first the cotton padding, then the white plaster rising from mid-palm, covering the wrist, bending at the elbow to a right angle, and ending almost at the shoulder. When it hardened, they placed a blue sling around her neck to hold it. Her right arm, her drawing hand, was folded against her chest, immobile, only her fingertips peeking out past the edge of the cast. "Will I be able to draw?" she asked, and her voice came out smaller than she wanted. The doctor looked at her kindly. "With that hand, not for now." The first thing Valentina learned was that almost everything in life takes 2 hands, and that almost everything important she did with her right. Getting dressed became a daily battle. Threading a bent, casted arm through a sleeve was impossible. She had to learn to dress starting always from the bad side, or simply live in loose t-shirts and open hoodies. Buttons were enemies. Shoelaces, a humiliation. The first time she tried to tie back her hair with one hand and it got tangled, she sat on the edge of the bed and laughed so she wouldn't cry. The kitchen was worse. She discovered you can't open a jar with one hand, or slice bread, or peel an orange. She learned to hold things with her knees, with her teeth, against her chest. She ate almost everything cold for the first few days, until she got embarrassed and called someone. That someone was Marcos, her neighbor across the hall, an illustrator too, with whom she barely exchanged 2 words in the elevator. Marcos showed up with a bag of food and a line that disarmed her. "I didn't come to help you. I came to eat with you. Eating alone is boring." And just like that, without it being a favor, they started sharing dinners. He opened her jars like it was nothing, cut her fruit while they talked about work, about drawing, about life. Valentina, who had spent years guarding her solitude like a treasure, caught herself looking forward to dinner time. But what really changed her came one night, when Marcos saw her pencils untouched on the table, gathering dust. "Haven't you tried with your left?" he asked. Valentina looked at him as if he'd said something silly. "I don't know how to draw with my left. I didn't know how to walk when I was born either," he said, and put a pencil in her clumsy hand. The first strokes with her left hand were a disaster. Shaky lines, circles that wouldn't close, a fox that looked like a puddle. Valentina got frustrated, crumpled 3 sheets, nearly gave up. But there was something in those clumsy strokes that her always perfect work didn't have. Something loose, childlike, honest. Her right-handed foxes were flawless. Her left-handed foxes were afraid, were joyful, were alive. They were, to her surprise, more hers. She began drawing every day with her left, not to replace the right, but out of curiosity, out of play. The studio, once a place of work under pressure, became again what it had been in childhood, a place to play. The cast, meanwhile, filled with drawings. The kids in the building, who knew the lady who draws storybooks lived there, came up to sign her arm and leave their own scribbles. Marcos drew, near the elbow, 2 hands shaking, one steady, one trembling. The day they cut the cast off, the saw roared and the arm finally appeared, thin, pale, the skin dry, the hand stiff from so many weeks folded. At first she could barely make a fist. Her fingers, once so nimble, obeyed clumsily. "Strength and precision will come back little by little," said the physical therapist. "Be patient with that hand." And they came back. Week by week, exercise by exercise, her right hand recovered its skill. The day she managed to trace the curve of a smile again without lifting the pencil. Valentina sat for a while just looking at the line, grateful. Months later, her new children's book reached the shops. On the cover, a fox. But it wasn't one of her usual perfect foxes. It was a fox drawn with her left hand, crooked, trembling, full of life. The kids loved it. "This fox looks real," said a little girl at a signing. "It looks scared, but brave anyway." Valentina signed the book with her right hand, recovered now, and smiled. She had spent a whole autumn believing she'd lost her hand. In truth, she had found the other one. The end.